if you have even a passing interest in film and filmmaking, then you're probably aware that there is a strike going on at the moment. But what was the catalyst that set it all off, and what does it mean for content moving forward? Hi, I'm Mackenzie from The Women's Direction, and in today's video I'm going to take you through the ins and outs of the Hollywood Writers Guild strike. In March of this year, the Writers Guild of America released an article detailing how they have all been negatively impacted by the advent of streaming services. The article detailed the severe decline in pay that writers received since the 2013-2014 production season, which came out to around 23% once adjusted for inflation, and also the reduced amount of time that a writer will be scheduled to work on a streaming production, coming out to around a minimum of 14 weeks in some cases. For perspective, a showrunner will often be attached to a production for around 52 weeks, which reflects a similar schedule to a broadcast production. These factors combined means that any writer working on a show for streaming will be working for a significantly smaller amount of time and with a much smaller paycheck. And streaming has also affected writers working on feature films as well. The overall pay for writers on feature films hasn't increased since about 2018, and once we count for inflation, that actually means that it's decreased around 14%. On top of this, the way that contracts are managed means that writers will often get the short end of the stick when it comes to being paid for their work. As the article explains, many writers are also employed on one-step deals, guaranteed only a single draft, but subject to endless demands for free rewrites. These demands contribute to lengthy employment periods, as writers who are still owed 50% of their fee for delivery are frequently held hostage to requests for more unpaid revisions. About a month after the article was released, the Writers Guild of America called a vote to strike against the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the association responsible for negotiating industry-wide guild and union contracts. And on April 17th, it was announced that the WGA was going on strike after receiving an overwhelming yes vote at 97.85%. The demands of the strike included increased minimum compensation in all areas of media, increased residuals, appropriate TV series writing compensation from pre to post-production, increased contributions to pension and health plans, the strengthening of professional standards and the overall protections for writers, and more, including protections against the introduction of artificial intelligence into the industry. Now, some of you may have also heard about actors going on strike as well, so when the heck did they get involved, and why? On July 17th, the SAG-AFTRA organisation released a document detailing what had been discussed in their negotiations with the AMPTP. For actors, the world of streaming has introduced similar concerns for them as it has for the writers, including reduced pay, particularly in regard to compensating for inflation. On top of this, performers have concerns regarding the use of their image through AI, and understandably want some protections around this. There were multiple other concerns listed in the document as well, including better residual pay for ongoing streaming shows.
Oh my god, I'm about to be so rich. What?
Better accountability for diversity in the makeup department.
Okay, so another one is Tati Gabrielle. Lots of fans of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina love Prudence's signature hairstyle, and these are called finger waves. Tati actually had to style her hair herself. For 2 years, she had to wake up earlier than everybody else so she can do this. She said it would have taken a hairstylist like 20 minutes to do, but it took her an hour to an hour and a half. And it eventually became too much work, which is why she shaved her head before the second season of the show.
And more compensation for actors who need to relocate from home to work on shows, plus much, much more. And I'll leave a link in the description where you can go and read the entire WGA article and the SAG-AFTRA document as well. So April and July were a while ago now, right? So why are these strikes still ongoing? Well, the negotiating went about as well as you might expect. Over the course of the months from March before the strike up until now, both parties have been meeting back and forth with accounts of how well or not well the negotiations are going coming out in the press. The offer on the table from the AMPTP included a few more notable concessions, including an increase to the minimum wage, though not as much as the WGA would like, a minimum 10-week employment with at least 2 mid-level writers per show, a mere 4 short of what the WGA were asking, and reports on streaming hours watched released to the Guild on a quarterly basis. Unfortunately, in regard to AI, since anything generated by the AI would not be considered literary material, the writers would receive no compensation, despite the fact that it was their work that trained the AI in the first place. It's safe to say the reason the strikes are still going on now is that both parties haven't been able to reach a conclusion that they're each happy with. In terms of the SAG-AFTRA negotiations, neither party has come back to the table as of yet, but we are starting to see quite a few marches occur, particularly in New York and LA, with many celebrities and industry professionals turning up to show their support for the strike action. Hello, Editing Mackenzie here. I just wanted to jump in with a little bit of an update regarding the strike and the negotiations, because this is kind of an ongoing and evolving story right now. I'm reading a Hollywood Reporter article from about 3 days ago. Yeah. As of now, they still haven't gone back to the table or renegotiated any of the offers from the AMPTP. There's a couple of allegations being thrown out that the AMPTP and the organizations that it represents are trying to kind of break down the sort of camaraderie, I guess, that the WGA has built up with everybody supporting the strikes. So if you can, keep supporting them in any way you can. That would really help the Writers Guild right now, and SAG-AFTRA as well, or the actors. As of 3 days ago, they've been striking for about 130 days, and according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, about 17,000 jobs have been lost during these strikes. So it's pretty detrimental. A lot of industry workers are facing eviction notices. Some are living in cars. Like, it's really affecting a lot of people being on these strikes. So I don't think people would put themselves in that position unless the things that they were striking for were important. So just something to keep in mind, I guess, as this continues to go on, because nobody's reached a conclusion yet. So anyways, yes, that's where we're at as of September 12th. So everything is at a bit of a standstill right now, which begs the question, what's going to happen to our content? I imagine most people probably heard about the strike because of the impacts that it's had on some of the most highly anticipated productions of the next couple of years. Most notably, I think it was Deadpool 3, which was one of the first major productions to really be affected by the strikes, as it totally shut down production on July 14th. But what's the extent of the impact? Should we really be that worried that all of our films and TV are about to disappear? Yes. Yes, we should. The impact ranges from just terminating press and promotional tours for film and TV shows, all the way to shutting down production entirely. To see the sheer amount of content that has been impacted by this strike in one way or another, you can check out this Wikipedia article, which I'll link in the description box below. But here are just some of the films and TV shows that have been impacted as of May 2023. Yellow Jackets, House of the Dragon, Cobra Kai, Stranger Things, Rings of Power, Abbott Elementary, Dune Part 2, Deadpool 3, Poor Things, and Good Omens. Also, the strike was the reason why the Oppenheimer press tour was cut short, and also the reason why the Haunted Mansion premiere recently only had Mickey and Minnie Mouse in attendance.
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
The release of films and shows moving into 2024 is clearly going to be hit hard by these strikes, but the impact of not seeing our actors and writers properly paid and protected would be much worse. Now, there is a counter-argument from the general public who really couldn't care less about whether these Hollywood types are getting a big enough paycheck, because in their eyes, people who work in Hollywood are earning millions while they struggle to afford rent and put food on the table. And believe me, I get it. But the strike is not about A-listers getting paid more. In fact, about 90% of the industry doesn't make a living from what they do, with many actors and writers having to work multiple jobs just to keep a roof over their heads. There's a great article on the website Mother Jones that actually interviews some of these real people who are working in the industry at the moment, and why they support the strike and how they've sort of struggled with the way the industry is structured at the moment. I recommend you give the whole article a read, and I'll have it linked in the description box below, but Here's just one account from actor Barry Briscoe. I literally have just got a residual check in the mail yesterday that was for 46 cents. I mean, it costs more to mail it. It's going to cost me even more money to drive to the store to cash that check. What the hell is that? Look at the streaming. Look at everything that's going on. I just did a Netflix show. They had me get dressed and they said, before you go eat, go get scanned. I had no idea what that meant. But then when I looked, all the stars of the show are standing there. I'm just like, you lead, follow, or get out of the way. There's 100 cameras in there. Put your feet on the little yellow things like you're at the airport. Cameras go up and down. Now I no longer own my image? Nobody asked my permission. I didn't sign anything for that. There's nobody in Los Angeles any summer. Why? Because they're in the Hamptons. They're in Paris. They're in France. They're on their yachts. We're sitting here going, oh my god, what the fuck are we going to do? When is work going to come back? Actors that you see on television every day that you think are banging out here in Hollywood are driving for Uber, are delivering for Grubhub, are walking dogs for WAG. They're doing whatever they possibly can do to pay their bills. I'm working and I'm not a kid. People think I'm in the position like they see me on shows and they think I have money. And I'm very grateful, but no, sweetheart. I didn't make any money. I can't loan you any. Don't send me a Cash App. I'm just an actor. The issue with having big name celebrities be the face of the strike is that it's actually taking away from the message. Hollywood has always kind of been this unobtainable land of luxury in many people's eyes. Like, it's where everyone is rich and they own 5 homes and 7 cars and have a waiter to cook for you and multiple drivers. But if you actually look at the majority of people who work to create the films and TV shows that you love, a mere fraction of those people actually live that way. In fact, the people who are more likely to live that Hollywood lifestyle are the CEOs and investors that AMPTP represents. The high-paid celebrities turning up at the marches are there in solidarity and support for their underpaid co-workers. They're not there necessarily to get a bigger paycheck for themselves. And look, I understand that there may be more immediate issues going on for a lot of people in the world right now, but having a fair and equal workplace is important, and also something people have been striking about for years in multiple different industries. If you're struggling to put it in perspective because it's filmmaking, then here's a bit of an example for you. Imagine you've been asked to write a report at work, or work on some kind of project relevant to your own industry. But the bosses are holding on to half of your paycheck, and they keep asking you to make these revisions whilst not paying you in the meantime for all the extra work that takes. And now imagine that they take that report and give it to an AI to generate reports in the future without giving you any compensation for you creating the blueprint. Oh, and you're also being paid 23% less than any other person working the same job at another company. Just because these people are making movies doesn't mean they don't deserve a fair place to work. I feel like artists are often overlooked as not being valued in society, but don't forget that the things that you entertain yourself with, be that music, art, film, or even video games, were all created by artists. So can we expect the strike to end anytime soon? Well, the longest that the Writers Guild has striked in the past was about 154 days, and we're at 127 at the time of me filming this, so it could be over soon. The truth is, it won't really be over until the WGA or SAG-AFTRA gets some reasonable concessions from the AMPTP to improve conditions. If you want to learn more about the strike, then check out some of the references that I've linked in the description box below. I hope that this video has been informative and helped to iron out at least some of the questions you might have had regarding the strike. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more film-related content. Check out thewomensdirection.com to read way more over on our blog, and I will see you in the next video. See ya! The Writers Guild of America called a vote to strike against the Alliance Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers.
Oh my!
A 10-week minimum employment period. A mere 4 short of what the